So you don't think that this is because we have allowed loopholes over the time?
Loopholes are naturally built into the decrees the soldiers wrote.
Or you don't think that this is about, the fact that we have not maybe gone down the route of using more electronic payment systems to ensure that, there are no corners where people can actually
You've just mentioned it now. You said electronic payment systems. You're looking to apply modern techniques to work with old archaic laws written by soldiers. Can't you see it's not going to work? You just mentioned it now. Electronic payment systems. Those people who wrote those decrees, put they transferred as Decree 24 as our constitution, those people wrote them in analog mode, electronic payment system. So why don't we recreate new digital protocols that will govern our life? This is all we're saying.
We need new laws for that?
We need new laws to govern country. We need laws written by the people. Are you comfortable with the Constitution?
We need to ask.
Are you comfortable with the way the country is?
Mr. Katch,
I'm asking you.
Mr. Onoju, I'm sorry, I'm the one who asked the question.
Maupe, we're Nigerians, so I can ask you this question
I will
too.
answer your question after
so
the
I can
show.
Understand your
but
mindset.
on this show, I will ask you the question.
Please do.
Now, are you saying then, only recently we saw the implementation of the TSA, and we've been hearing quite a number of state governors also saying that they're implementing TSA in their states, and they're also doing electronic payment systems for members of the civil service who work with them so that they can, get rid of ghost workers, for instance. If we adopted more systems like this, wouldn't we be talking more about getting rid of this corruption?
These are the protocols we brought about in years before this administration came in. What we are saying is, this is where the country should be going. If we're now bringing brand new protocols, why don't we go the full hog and also look at our constitution and then remake them in the image of today's country? Don't you see what you're saying? You're actually agreeing with me. We thought about changing the things, but don't just change the practices without changing the laws. You need to make new laws that will govern a new generation. This is what we're saying.
Some people say that we're always looking for excuses to touch our laws, but that even with the laws that we have...
Are you comfortable with the way the laws are?
With the laws that, these are thoughts that people are sharing. With the laws that we have, despite the laws that we have, that we can always find room to be able to make, to be able to ensure that we make things work.
It will not work. You know why?
Why will it not work?
The new generation of Lagosians, see that thing I've just described to you. We pay 64% of the VAT from collections on alcohol, and we're only giving to 20 local governments, and people who punish those who drink alcohol are given to 75 local governments. You might be calm. They will not be calm. So what we must do is, we'll look at it. Okay, it is true. The soldiers wrote this with a very corrupt mindset. Let us redo it. That's how you bring down tensions in society. Not saying, no, it will not happen.
The Lagos which you talk about,
yes.
You talked about 22 or thereabout.
20 local governments.
They currently have about 57
No, those were
LCDs.
Not allowed. Those were suggested by the state government.
Just a moment.
The federal government say you cannot do that without a change in the constitution.
They are still operating it. I know that matter was taken to court, and the Lagos state government had the right, was given the right. Their right to create local councils was affirmed by, I think, the Supreme Court as well. So
they have not been accepted as acts of law.
They currently operate that system. Whether or not, I don't know what law you're referring to.
It is called development areas. They are not local governments. If they're not local governments, they are not recognized by the federal constitution.
My point is that, yes, it is not recognized in the Constitution, but they are currently operational, aren't they?
They are not operational.
The development areas are not operational?
They are not operational. They are proposals. They become operational when they are fed.
Well, I know that you don't live in Lagos, and I do not know if you know how
the system, and I live in Lagos,
and how the system works there. But I do know that if you go to Lagos,
so all my children, I had all of them in Lagos. I'm a Lagosian, and nothing has changed. So what I'm just telling you, the Lagos state government made proposals to create local governments, and they were told no. You can create it on your own. So what they are, in effect, are suggestions. For them to become local governments, they must be recognized by the Nigerian Constitution. When the sharing is given to 75 in Kano are given, they also get that. That's what we're saying. We now have a brand new generation of young Nigerians who were not born when the soldiers wrote the decrees. And they have seen that these things don't work. So this is part of what we're saying, not just the Lagos own. There are quite a lot of these things. The Southeast contributes to the Federation account. The states that don't contribute to the Federation account get more than the Southeast. The Southeast gets represented by only 5 states with their senators, 5 times 3. That's all they have. Some others that don't have nothing that they bring have more. So we want an honest, equitable recognition of everybody, so that the aspirations of all can be carried along.
So aside,
this is what we're saying.
Aside VAT and, of course, resources under the ground.
And the contributions to the Federation account.
For other resources that states are able to make, they keep them. But how do we ensure that, half the money is not going to civil servants or even, the political officers of those states?
What we're saying is, let us restructure this country. The way we are right now, Maupe, is not working. It doesn't work. The restructuring is what will take care of that thing you've seen. Unbundling one thing into one office simply creates too much figures in that office. Figures is where the corruption comes from.
When we talk about, this is not trying to excuse corruption at the federal level. Let's even leave the federal level and say that, perhaps nepotism, and let's concede that to you. Let's assume without considering. But let's look at the states. Some states that people would say are largely monolithic in terms of their culture, in terms of language, and as it were. Would you say then that, the rate of corruption in those states, shouldn't it be less than, what one would expect? After all, they all speak the same language. After all, they understand themselves a bit more. Shouldn't they work for the development of their own states?
No, because the protocols that govern them are the same. A politician in your state could, because he speaks languages that the federal government loves, steal the state blind, and nobody will touch him. Why? You have the federal police. You have the federal agency that would be structured from Abuja to go hold him.
What about the people of that state?
The people of that state have no power, even though they believe what he does, it's intrinsically against their own interests. They can do nothing. They're not the police. They're not the EFCC. It's controlled by the ruling party. How
do we then defend the fact that sometimes when some people are being prosecuted, the people who come from the same ethnic grouping or sometimes political parties or political affiliations defend that person?
Well, because when you're being persecuted, when you're held, the people who will first react to such and care about your being held are those who have some affinity to you, either political affinity or cultural affinity, as you just explained right now.
So do you then think that if we restructure, which is the way that you propose forward, how do you think that would really help at the end of the day? Wouldn't we have people who would still the people blind?
See the way it works.
At the state level or whatever level.
It is difficult for you to misappropriate funds belonging to your community. Because you don't do that at home. They say the chicken with the bad feet is not sold at home. You don't do that. Because the local people are all looking at that. That belongs to us. You don't touch it. That's why we're asking, since we've done a lot of these things in a way that doesn't work, let us try new things. And that new thing is unbundling. Unbundling is the same as restructuring. The present government actually agreed that they will unbundle a lot of these things. But you can see what's going on.
Well, that will definitely be a fine place to leave it, because we do believe that your point has been made very clear. We're speaking with Mr. Katch, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party, and he believes that restructuring is the way to go to ensure that cases of corruption are reduced. So that will be it on Sunrise Daily for this segment. We'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. Please stay with us.